Welcome to She
Hey,
Blaze.
hey, what up, girl?
Hey, and we're bringing you cannabis culture from a woman's point of view. And as always, we're here to elevate the cannabis industry. I'm one of your hosts, Big Ice, Cannabis Socialite, woo, woo, woo. And my co-host over there is the infamous, famous, really.
Okay.
Well, because I mean, you gotta be.
It depends on the circle. It depends on the circle.
Okay, you right about that.
You are hilarious. Yes, I'm Dasheeda Dawson, and I am the WeedHead.
Yes, you are the weekend. And so what are you? Sorry, you guys. I've been smoking some good CBD hemp lately, and so that's why I've been so super chill. Last week I was on my natural Alicia Keys, very touch of light, and so I had to give y'all back the super beat. You know what I'm saying? So I'm focused, and I got my war paint on.
You said war paint for your beat face. Well, it looks good with your glasses. I'm so excited to be jumping into. I mean, another week in the cannabis industry. It freaking feels like months past
Yes.
when it's just a couple days. But oh my goodness, what is happening this week?
Oh my goodness, so many things are happening, and the cannabis industry, we say it all the time, it's kind of like dog years. Things are so fast, and so I'm so excited. Let's spark these hot topics. You know what I'm saying? DC is taking leaps and bounds. They've actually passed an emergency law to allow children, minors at school to use their medical marijuana.
We were
Yes.
just talking about this, okay?
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what's happening with that right now?
Well, we actually talked about California, and we thought they were doing something because they're passing it to the governor's law office. But this is an emergency law that they passed, and it's saying that kids are allowed to consume the cannabis while they're on campus, and this makes it so much easier uh, for the students. They don't miss school. The teachers give it to them. It still comes in an oil or an inhaler, so it's not a foreign object that they're not used to, and they have 90 days to make this a permanent bill.
Gotcha. That's exciting. Again, when we talked about it, I think it's a couple episodes ago, it was just one of those things where we are so afraid of this plant from all of the history that oftentimes I feel like we put in place really silly bro science laws, and not having kids have access to it, I guess, is one of these, really, really big things we're having discussion about in the industry. But when a kid has gotten legitimately a medical marijuana card, or in the case of Ms. Cardi, whose daughter suffers from epileptic seizures, like, you don't want to again have the law be written where she has to go off campus to take what's going to save her life at the end of the day. So I'm just excited to see that DC's putting that in place, and I'm looking forward to other states like taking on this as a precedent and saying, hey, our children need to be protected. We need to stop pretending like this is so bad for us and it's like the devil's lettuce. Like, get over it. It actually is good for us, and we have to figure out how the best way to service the patients that exist among us, and our kids are a part of that population.
Absolutely. And, again, it's not the devil lettuce because it doesn't even come in the flower form. We're talking about things that come like other medicine. So,
Right.
again, the stigma is ridiculous. And shout out to that mom at the forefront of, leading us in being business leaders and medicine leaders within the industry.
Yeah, I was just amazed by her story. We met at the Black Experience in Cannabis.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kia Jackson for that. And that was during the CBC Congressional Black Caucus weekend. So a bunch of us, really in the cannabis community, really they're trying to make impact among the legislators, but very excited to hear those type of things happening. And, they don't bubble up to the surface often. That's how I know you a good, like, digger because you find the little gems that we get to celebrate about, and we get to scream them from the top of a building and hope that other states start to follow suit, because that's a big deal.
Absolutely, and thank you. I appreciate it. And another hot gem that we actually discussed on previous episodes, Indiana, they allowing smokable hemp. They're saying that the judge is saying that it's unconstitutional to basically take someone to jail for smoking hemp. And it's really cool because we talked about it in the South, in South Carolina, North Carolina, where they're not allowing it. So shout out to Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, I wish this was something that could be implemented again more globally. It's still this thing where it's like state by state, but who would have thunk? I mean, I think it makes perfect sense to say it's unconstitutional. Everybody, first of all, it's unconstitutional that you can't consume the plant marijuana to begin with. I believe that, but that's why we fight what we fight. But once we are starting to see that there's medical benefits, you have a program in your state that exists for hemp, then yeah, it should be all forms of hemp. Educate yourself and figure out the difference so that if you want to be like North Carolina and still have criminal activity around marijuana, that you can actually distinguish, because you can if you have the right testing. Even if you have the right nose, to be perfectly honest, I feel like you can distinguish between the flower. Experience will help here, but being able to have a judge outright be like, nah, we're not going to do that. We've legalized it. Let people smoke it and keep it moving. That's an awesome thing to hear. You said, and go Indiana.
Yeah, shout out to Indiana, especially after our last couple episodes. We're discussing how, a regular mom using it for anxiety went to jail over it. So to look somewhere across the country doing it is amazing. And the same issue happened there that happened in the Carolinas. Police just cannot tell the difference. They just cannot. And even though it's on the packaging, even though it's coming out of people's mouths, David always tells us the nose knows. And so their nose knows is cannabis, but they just don't understand the complexity of cannabis.
Yes, that's definitely the case. And, even the K9 units are not able to tell the difference. I have my own experience being in the back of a Wisconsin police car with a freaking dog. We'll talk more about that in another day, or you could ask me about it in person if you see me, come and speak. But yeah, we were there to educate. We're there working, and police and dogs both mistook. I mean, they mistook black soap for a dab, right? Like it was African black soap. And they're like, "We got your dab stuff," and I'm like, no. You got soap. Like, that's what you got. But that's how ignorant the situation is. It's like using my business cards as proof that I'm a drug dealer. I don't know any plugs that's like giving out business cards. I encourage it now because I'm telling people to cross over into the industry legally, but that's not really how we roll. But that was Wisconsin. They're actually just a little tea, and I think we should talk about it next week, but they are introduced their medical bill now. And so they may be legal in marijuana. They had already legalized for hemp, and it was at the discretion of the attorney general. And so the fact that we, even had CBD products or hemp, it should have been without issue. I mean, I certainly have medical reasons for utilizing it, but yeah, to me, this just shows a lot of the re-education that's required for the cannabis industry to succeed. And it's not us educating ourselves. I already know. It's the mainstream law enforcement, lawmakers, those two groups that are really way, way off. And in some cases, I feel like they want to stay off because they're looking for the right payout in order for them to change their minds. But again, we could probably talk about that at length as well. But I'm excited. Congratulations, Indiana, and I hope South Carolina's watching. I hope North Carolina's watching, and I hope those lawmakers have a little bit more wherewithal as they're re-looking at it and do like California does. It's like kind of go back and say, how can we correct some of the mistakes that we made? Because mistakes are being made for the market and for the consumer.
Yeah, well, we know this is new to everybody, so things are going to be made. We wish they paid attention back in the prohibition days, of alcohol. But at the end of the day, it's now alcohol. It's way better, and it's medicine, and hopefully they don't, hurt it like the opioid plant. I hope that we actually respect it and see the amazing things that it has to offer us. And so, yes, shout out to Indiana. And, we're just talking about so much progress within the cannabis industry. I want to talk about some more progress that's happening on the East Coast. MCR Labs have developed, it's a well-known cannabis lab testing, shout out. They've developed vape testing for THC vapes and see if they have the vitamin E oil in it.
That is awesome. First of all, shout out to the fact that they have made one of my favorite shirts ever, because I leave science, of course. And it's one of those shirts that everybody always asks me where I got it from. And I'm always like, MCR Labs. And they're like, who's that? And I'm like, oh, they're cannabis lab testing brand. And they're doing it. First of all, I love the purple. So I'll give them a shout on that because, it's my favorite color. But to be able to offer to consumers during this time where vapes are being villainized, this sort of safety net of being able to test your vapes for the real substance that we're a little bit like unclear how or why it would be in a vape, and we're predicting that that's part of the reason that we're seeing some of these lung diseases. I am very proud of them. I think that we need more big labs to step up in the same way, because it's kind of, we can't help it, but it's kind of a wildfire. We're sharing it because we're disgusted about it, and other people are sharing it because they're just ignorant, right? And they don't know better. And so we are globally sharing a story around THC vapes being bad or causing these lung diseases, when it's just so much deeper. There are very specific things that are being found in vapes, that in the oils that people are vaping into their lungs, that should not be inhaled into your lungs, and definitely takes away the integrity of the purpose of extracting from the plant to that form, right? I know y'all vape heads. You, David, like, of all the people I know, you are most sensitive about it because you are really, really conscious consumers and know like the technology and understand the science behind extraction. But most people are not like that. And the more we talk about it, the more drama I feel like we drum up. And this is a way to kind of put aside some of those fears, because at least you can say, well, not my vape, right? And that's hard when people aren't able to say that.
No, absolutely. I agree. Honestly, vape testing is really important. It is a new technology within the industry. It is something people don't know the outcomes and effects. So if they're finding something that's harmful, absolutely. And I'm glad they got on it like that, because, this thing is not even that old, what we're talking about. These vape things are just now coming to the surface really on being contaminated. And so they jumped quickly at the opportunity. They are allowing people, so you don't have to be a business. They're allowing individuals, yes, to come and test their vape carts, no questions asked. You get 2 per individual. But you have to, be in the state. So that would be helpful.
Massachusetts. So I wish that they have a very good global brand. Shout out to them again at kind of using social media and being able to, they create great educational memes. And so that's allowed them to be known elsewhere. But we need this in California. We need this right now in Nevada, right? I need to be able to walk into a dispensary and be like, yo, check my vapes. But I think that it's a good thing for Massachusetts, which is, really the largest fully legal adult use market on the East Coast. And while there are larger medical markets for sure, they're definitely setting the precedent. And I think this sets up MCR being a leader in the one testing world. And that's already a white space and now like area, right? In my analysis, I've already said we don't got enough, right? We don't have enough testing companies in California to test the amount of marijuana they believe will be consumed. That's a problem. It's a real issue of supply and demand, and I think that MCR has a great opportunity to move west, to take their brand west and really do well.
Well, great advice and Jewel for dropping for them. So if they're listening, we definitely are talking about the white space, and they are willing to teach other labs their process for testing the vitamin E. So great white space, great opportunity. Especially, they're redeeming themselves right now. They actually earlier this year they got caught improperly disposing and just storing cannabis, and they had to recently pay a fine of $225,000. And
throwing away the cannabis wrong.
all they did was throw it in the back of they trash can, so they ain't really do nothing wrong. But it's great to see that they're still being business leaders despite that.
Well, I think everybody makes mistakes, but it sounds like to me, as per usual, the cannabis industry is being bullied a bit. $225,000. That's how I feel when I'm like reading about Serena Williams' fines at tournaments, right? Like she breaks a racket, that's another $50,000. It's like ridiculous. You know, the end of the day, the spirit in which these rules are created has to be part of how we determine, you know, fines and who's right or who's wrong. I think part of this whole disposal issue is not because if you dispose of cannabis wrong, it's going to like ruin the earth, because that's actually happening in other places. Right? And we're not being told about it. But it's because people still have this fear. It goes back to these, again, bro science regulations that have they're not founded in anything. But I give them much props because they paid their fine. They gave no real argument or stink, because trust, if I was in charge, I don't know. but because you found it, and I'm like, I didn't even hear about that, right? And that was a few months ago, and then they decided, you know what, our clap back is to do better, and I can't complain. Like, how do you complain about that? Yes, thank you. So I appreciate how they responded to this misstep. I think spun the wrong way, it could sound like they're doing crazy stuff, but when you are a little digger, again, journalists like yourself, you find all the little deets and you realize it's actually not that big of a deal, but we want to at least still set a good precedent. Every manufacturing industry has rules and regulations around disposal. So
even if they don't tell the townies.
Right.
So yes, so I am glad we have the opportunity. I like MCR Labs, and you know, just talking about being good and being good within the cannabis industry. Our hot topic is the hottest of them all. Our main topic is cannabis industry and the environment and our carbon footprint.
That's a big topic, Ice. I mean, we talk about it all the time. It feels like every new market we go into, that is probably, I would say, number one is how the flower quality is, right? And then probably number two is the flower pricing or product pricing. And then number three is all of these damn jars and all of the waste because of our usage amount, trial, and wanting to, you know, test new brands and you know, yeah, we're doing it for our clients, now we're doing it for ourselves, but the reality is like, yo, that's number three. We're always talking about how much waste it is.
I agree. Can I just share a small example of the amount? I don't want to look like a hoarder, so I didn't bring all the jars, but some of them to give example.
What are you about to show us? I'm like, should I cover my eyes?
I have more bags of these jars. These are cannabis jars, you guys. Just cannabis jars that we bought, but one fell out. You know, these things are a mess. It's a mess right now.
Right? Yes. Those are your eighth jars.
These are eighth jars because even your grams, and these are eighth jars, even your grams, that's Acapulco Gold. This one is, shit, I can't even see this one. OG Skunk.
Well, I guess my point is that these are jars for the most commonly purchased size amount in any market, largely because of the regulations. In some markets, they don't even allow you to sell grams. But gosh, I'm glad they don't, because if the grams all had to be in, you know, singularly packaged glass or whatever, we would have a ton more. But because I'm a person that's going to buy a gram. If I've never tried that strain before, or I don't know that cultivation brand, I am going to probably just buy the gram. I know for y'all trial size is more the eighth. And for Nevada, that's that's the trial size. That's the size that they're pushing. Even when you're buying a quarter, they're giving you 2 eighths separately, and so you get 2 jars.
Or Nevada's really more, they're more notorious than California for giving you the little aluminum packaging, which I cannot stand to keep them. I just throw them in the recycle. I'm like, I can't use this for nothing else. Nothing I can use that way. At least the jars, you could throw, they're the 4 ounce or less size. So throw some, wash it out, throw some cream in it, and you can fly on a plane. But
I just had bobby pins in a couple of my jars. I'm like, I'm gonna travel with it, and sometimes it does feel better to have a jar for certain things than the Ziploc bag if that's what you're gonna do. But yeah, like we don't need that many, right? Like that many is actually gonna make sure your bag gets checked, right? It's gonna be highlight, like you maybe need 2, maybe 3 if you're a little bit more multiple creams and such. But I just feel like there's a huge hole here around sustainability. We talk about sustainability and being more green and respecting the plant, but then we're not really respecting the planet with the regulations that are put in place. We've worked with enough clients to know that oftentimes nobody is really choosing this as their first choice because they like it. Cost-wise, it's not really great for the P&L. It's because the law or the regulations say this is how it needs to be packaged. And unless you are a tourist and you're just picking up, then what happens if you're a tourist, you can't take it on the plane. So what you're doing, leaving jars in a hotel. And apparently, this is a story I have from how many Airbnbs we've done. I stayed in an Airbnb that had a whole little area that was just like leftover flour. It's like, leave your flour here, and of course it's open to the house, anybody else comes in to use it, but it was about 20 jars just on a table right by where you leave the keys in the Airbnb. That's a smart kind of way to kind of make your Airbnb a little, especially if it's 420 friendly, a little bit more fun. But I'm also not the type, because I'm just the little bit bougie consumer. I'm not going to smoke just anything. I don't know what's in that jar. I don't know if it was a recycle jar for real. Somebody just dropped the nug in there. Like, you could read the jar, you can read the stickers on the jar, but that doesn't mean that that's actually what you're getting. And even though, again, I can use my nose to smell certain things, especially the terpenes, I don't know about that. Like, I want to be protected. So I just feel like that was an example of how even it doesn't work in a tourist city where you just like have a place where you leave it over jars. I saw it in the airport in Colorado. It's like mad, cannabis leftover packaging from people who were there for a vacation, but they know they're not trying to travel with it. We've got to find a solution, I think, and it's on us as the industry to figure it out because we're creating the waste.
Let me tell you something. What I'm not about to do is, I don't even use random seasonings at the Airbnb, okay? I barely use salt and pepper. Let me tell you, I'm not about to use some random flour, cross-contamination and all kinds of stuff. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know what you did with that flour before you left it to free, but I do think that, the thing about recycling is you want to reuse them before you recycle them. That's like the number one rule to being a great person to the environment, is to use it, reuse, then recycle. And so when you understand that, then it's like, yeah, there has to be a better to reuse these things, and I know that Nevada actually has some programs. This is the bag you actually leave with.
Yes.
And they have some programs where if you bring this bag back, you can get like 10% off, which is like 1% of your like a little bit of your taxes, really. But you could get that off by bringing this back. It's made from plants. Doesn't say hemp, but it is made by green packaging, and it's something you have to leave with. It's mandatory to leave with this childproof. Mind you, when we get alcohol, they just come in some ugly ass like
brown bags.
Yeah, like not brown, not even the white ones like Walmart, like black bags. Can't see through them. Nothing, like they liquor store was. So this is how we gotta leave. I could barely open this thing.
I know. So in this case, you have to have an exit bag. That rule is the case for Colorado as well as California. There's an exit bag. They're very expensive, so it's not a minor cost to invest in a whole bunch of them when you are a dispensary owner. And so that makes sense to have a sort of recycling program where people come back with a bag, and that gives them some percentage off. And certainly the price point here in Nevada, I would use it in a heartbeat. I think people in California are automatically trained because you have to bring a bag, period, to the store. So it seems crazy that that's not just a program that exists for the dispensaries, because that's the same way you have to shop in Cali. Like, you go there and you don't have a bag for checkout, guess what? You're getting a fee for every bag that you use. And those people actually don't really know how to pack bags well. It ain't like New York. It's not efficient bag packing. It's like you got 3 things in one bag. I was like, child, you got to I don't want to get charged for all these bags. And then we soon learned we need to have our own stash, and we need to be able to go every time. And that was our California learning curve. That was the biggest thing, was remember to bring a bag to the store. So why isn't, if the state has already done that, why doesn't California already have, for its cannabis industry, a similar rule or a similar ability for those retailers to either, I don't like the imposition of a fee. I hate that, to be honest, but it does remind me more than a discount, unless the discount is super big. Or I'm going to get something free. So when I worked for MAC all these years, Back to MAC was one of the most successful recycle programs that I've ever seen in consumer packaged good. And basically, you bring back 6 lipsticks or lip glosses, and you're going to get 1 free. And because if you bought 6, that means, and if you really love MAC, you know you're going to love the lip gloss especially. That's the easy. You're going to do that maybe 4 to 5 times a year for a real VIP consumer. But that's 5 times 6. That means that person bought 30 lipsticks or 30 lip glosses from MAC. That's quite a high lifetime value just on that one product. And it works for a lot of other ones too. Actually, you can bring all your plastics back to them. That is what's needed. That's a big hole in the industry. That is a big white space opportunity in the industry. I think I talk about it in the book, How to Succeed in the Cannabis Industry.
We did talk about it on How to Succeed in the Cannabis Industry. 3rd edition is available for pre-order. What I did want to say and jump in real quickly is actually it depends on where you are in California, because remember when we were in San Diego, they were giving us the little white lunch bags and they were folding it over and stapling it. So, it depends on where you're at in California and their laws for the actual township. And how they leave. For Nevada, it is definitely, these bags are the only thing that's permitted. And some do give you, we did pay for this bag. Don't get it twisted. We paid 40 cents for this bag. It is on our receipt. So when we come back, and please know we got this bag when we come back.
Okay.
So you do pay for the bags in certain places in Nevada. It just depends.
Okay. Well, that's what helps when you're a junior sleuth. I'm going to start calling you a sleuth, where you're looking at the receipt like, what did we get charged for?
I found that one. That wasn't me. Shout out to my sister. That was all him. He saw that. He was like,
I'm very proud of you. But yeah, I mean, it seems so they're passing on that cost to the consumer. It would be better for that dispensary, just a little real talk from a business perspective, if you made that more clear. Because I guarantee 40 cents for a bag. I mean, I was complaining about 5 cents per bag when I was caught in the supermarket and I didn't bring bags in Cali. 40 cents for that bag, I trust I wouldn't forget again, like you said, but I need it to be called out to me, because maybe, like the majority of folks, I'm not looking at my receipt, right? Sometimes, though, I think when we go into the cannabis store, we just expect it to be expensive. If you stay under your budget, you're kind of happy when you walk out, you don't look. But there are other times where my math brain shows up and I start counting up the eighths in my head, and then I can't believe how that amount got to the final, and then I'm like, I got to see how much we got charged in taxes. And that's when I start, really scrutinizing the receipt. So I'm probably like David, I probably would have found it eventually, but they should advertise that more so that it's a deterrent. Instead of trying to pass that cost on, you should be trying to help your consumer lower your cost on the other end by bringing their bag in.
Yes, I mean, I'm so glad it's made from plants, but did I want to sign up for a 50 cent bag, 40 cent bag, 50, 40? No, I did not.
No.
Especially because cannabis is really expensive out here. And we talk about it all the time. It feels like it's so expensive because they're spending so much money on their packaging. There has to be better, environmental costs for it. And actually, there is a cannabis conference that's geared towards the environment. It is called the Cannabis Sustainability Symposium, October 4th in Denver. We won't be there, but trust me, I would love to be there because I love the environment. I love Mother Earth. So this conference could definitely help have ideas for some biodegradable packaging.
Yes. And obviously packaging is one of the biggest culprits from what's happening with pre-rolls, filters, how our packaging comes to us, the bag in which we leave it in. Let's not even get into edibles and the cans and the bottles. And it just, there's an issue and we have to address it. And I think that we have a lot of opportunity for folks to create really good revenue driving recycle programs, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a big opportunity here.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for opportunities in the cannabis industry but don't know where to get started, feel free to look up How to Succeed in the Cannabis Industry, available for pre-order right now on the WeedHead.com.
You are awesome for plugging my book, girl. I love it. No, but it's a real, like, it actually helps people because really folks don't know where to start. And I'm like overwhelmed in my DMs around some of the questions, but part of it is just, there just is so much in the cannabis space. This is a perfect example. We're talking about something that doesn't even really involve touching the plant. It involves touching the packaging that goes around the plant. One of the largest companies in cannabis is an ancillary company that is only doing packaging. Kush bottles can be traded. You can find their code or whatever and go ahead and symbol. Sorry, not code. Your symbol. I'm still learning about investment myself, but you can find their symbol and go ahead and buy their stock, and you'll see that they've been actually progressively doing well. But it's because they're the only ones. Really, we need more and more people like that. And I think that the niche opportunity within packaging is sustainable packaging. It's hemp-based packaging, right? It's the ability to make sure that we're saving money while saving the environment. We can do both. Other industries have figured it out, and you could actually learn from that. In fact, you could poach some of those experts, or if you're an expert in that industry, you could do like I did and just cross over. And that's sort of what the book does. It kind of like lays it out. Here are the different areas. It's on you to take your understanding of what you can do and figure out where it fits. But this is a huge hole, and I see this as big money. Whoever figures this out in the long run. Kush Bottles needs to have a recycling program. All of their packaging has stamping on the back, and we know it comes from them. So what's up, Kush? Like, that's something you should be doing.
You don't want to just keep recycling it. You have to reuse it before you recycle, people. Reuse, recycle. But
a good example for what? Not only putting your cream in there, but like you suggested, you're like the queen of reuse for sure. But it's also reusing it at the same dispensary or place that you bought some things, right? I really wish we had like an Arizona model where the cannabis was free in a bigger jar and you just got it weighed out. You can't get your own bottle. Wouldn't that be dope? That would be a real marketplace, actually, as opposed to I'm smelling one thing that may or may not be, good cannabis, and then I'm receiving a package, jar that
may or may not be the same batch, too. Like, that's the thing is, like, when we were talking about Nevada and their batches, like, they're still selling some of these same brands on the shelves, yes, from the same companies, but the batch date is different. The batch number is different. So then it's different from what you're smelling, too.
Absolutely. It's important for people to understand those nuances as they're shopping. In Colorado, certain spots, and in Arizona, you can smell the flower and they're literally picking it out of the jar and you're getting what you smell. And you should be able to bring your bottle or your container in, as opposed to what they do is just, they're making a makeshift container right there anyway.
Right.
So I think that means Arizona has big opportunity around recycle, reuse,
I know
recycle
that's
programs
right.
as well. Hmm.
I know that's right. Well, where in the world will the WeedHead be?
Oh well, girl, we stay we stay doing the next thing. So we are
Right.
what you say. We in the lab. We in the lab.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm always, we were watching Young Dolphin. We was just talking about, being in the lab. That's what we're doing. We aren't traveling as much right now. We just focus on, finishing up all the great, exciting things we have for Q4.
Yes, because Q4, the fourth quarter is coming, and girl, that's my favorite quarter, whether it's basketball or business. It's time to turn it up. Retail, coming from that world, got me like my adrenaline starts pumping in a different way once October 1 hits, right? Because
Right.
I know that there's very specific goals that I want to make before the end of the year. We've had an amazing year already, and I cannot believe it's already almost 2020. But what we've got in store, what we're cooking up in the lab, I cannot wait to drop some of these dates, some of the information. But of course, it's all kicking off with that third edition of How to Succeed in the Cannabis Industry, making its way to shelves, as well as let's just say I might be in your city soon.
Okay. Well, we love traveling. We some jet setters for life. And so, but we still gotta go some places, even in the lab. So tell us where you be in October.
Well, I'm kicking off October going back to my alma mater. Shout out to Princeton University, Princeton Tigers, whoop whoop. The Association of Black Princeton Alumni is having its conference where we all come back, and I think we'll have nearly 1,000 individuals on campus specifically for it. I'm going to be facilitating a couple of roundtable discussions, a few performances, but that is the Thrive Conference, October 3rd to the 5th. So I'll be in Jersey, y'all. So if you want to make an appointment with me all the time, we got drinks, whoever. Shout out to my sorors in Jersey. This is the time to catch up. Definitely.
Yes.
But then we got to move quickly from that point. I'm going to be in Jersey. I got to slide all over back to Detroit. I can't wait to get there. We've been talking about cashing out on cannabis, and this is just an amazing opportunity to learn from someone who has done it really well. Simone Casson, she's our M4MM president for the Michigan State, and I'm going to be joining her for a kickoff of her cashing out on cannabis tour, and it will be fun because I'm there to teach people how to get in other ways, because it's right there for you. So that's going to be on the 13th.
That is the 13th. We run in a little bit over time, so we're gonna have to, rush through. And
okay,
we're gonna have to go through a little bit faster. We over our 30 minutes, but we do geek out on cannabis because we love weed, clearly.
I mean, I'm the WeedHead girl, like, of course.
You are the WeedHead, yes.
Okay, so where else are we going to be for the rest of October? Oh, it's me.
Well, some of these I don't go to. So, where in the world is WeedHead is the WeedHead. It's not where in the world is the WeedHead and Company.
I know, my bad, but you know my schedule better than I do, so I like, my bad. So we got the Dope Show on the 15th. I'm going to be in Chicago. That's what's up. Cannabis Media Summit. That's back in New York, October 18th through the 19th. You can get your tickets now by going to our link tree. And then Cannabis 103, I'll be back in Buffalo. Shout out to the majority leader, Crystal People Stokes. That's on October 26th. It's going to be a busy October, but it's Q4, y'all, so it's like we just gearing up because December is going to be a big month, and 2020 is about to be a big year. So I hope y'all join me on one of these many events for sure.
Yes. And, definitely keep following along She Blaze on all social media platforms. If y'all have any topics y'all want us to discuss, anything that y'all like, can you do some more research on this? Or you're looking for the link on how to succeed in the cannabis industry, drop some comments below and hit us up and follow us on all social media platforms at She Blaze, _Blaze on Instagram. And you follow me, Cannabis Socialite.
Of course, and I'm following you. You look like you had fun last weekend, girl. Let us know, please. Me, I'm a little bit more boring, but you can always hit me up at theweedhead.com and everybody else too.
Yes, I know that's right. TheWeedHead.com. So we signing out. See y'all next week.